Yes, folks, hello, welcome once again to MoDXtra Games and Collectibles, and it's time for another action figure review here on the channel. And as you can see, today's installment is going to be the G.I. Joe Classified Series Franklin Airborne Tall Tree. That's right, we've got some new G.I. Joe Classified Series figures to take a look at on the channel at last. It's been a long wait, folks. I know you guys in North America are going to get yours sooner than me, but nonetheless, I have Airborne ready to show you today. So stick around, because if you're thinking about picking up this figure for yourself, I'll give you all the ins and outs, ups and downs that you need to know to make sure it's the right decision for you. So I'll talk through the aesthetic and the visual experience of the character. I'll talk through the articulation and the posability and what fun we can have there. And then finally, I'll give you a walkthrough of all the accessories and added value. And with all that said and done, hopefully, if your mind's not made up yet, it should be. But before I get into all that, travel back in time with me now, where I crack open the box for the very first time as it arrives and share my first instinctual reaction. So let's do it. Let's go back in time. Okay then, folks, here we go. Here is the G.I. Joe Classified Series Franklin Airborne Tall Tree in the box. He arrived earlier today, and this is the wider windowed packaging that we saw prior to the windowless packaging, but this is due to change again imminently. May even make a video on that subject soon. So we've seen it all before. Got the window at the front here showing off the figure and all the goodies. Bit of artwork up the side there with Airborne depicted just off on the right hand side of the box there. I feel like he looks a bit baby-faced in that artwork. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, folks. Does he look a bit baby-faced there? I think he does. But I do enjoy the artwork on the front of the packet. That's something I will lament the loss of in the new packaging design. Then on the back, we've got the digital render here. We've seen this before. Airborne depicted on Easter Island. This is, of course, an Easter egg reference to the Mind Menace episode, which Airborne is one of the key featured characters in there, where these Easter Island Rapa Nui heads come to life and shoot laser beams out their eyes, as you can see there. He's number 115 in the line, couple of breakout windows showing off a few key features. So we've got his insignia there, which I'm assuming, although if there's any military folks out there, I'm assuming that's some sort of airborne cavalry kind of insignia, I would have thought, but based on his speciality. Then the helmet and showing off the sculpting on the helmet, all the legal bollocks and malarkey across the bottom. And then, of course, we've got the data card just here, but it's a lot more clearly depicted on the side now. Here we go, we've got the artwork, the QR code, I've not bothered trying that again today, and here is the data card, a bigger version of it. Zoomed in on it there so I could do a quick rundown of Airborne's speciality. So we've got the lightning bolt here. This is obviously from the Gatorade logo. Airborne, big fan of the quenched thirster. Often seen with one in his hand, one in his backpack, ready to go. Just kind of helps him get in the mood, getting in that kind of airborne cavalry mindset. Then we've got a bit of a stack of bullets here. This is in celebration of Airborne's favourite joke, which, if anyone's interested, goes like this. Why did the bullet have no job? Because he got fired! Insert drum fill now. Then we've got the parachute here. Airborne's a spy movie fan. This parachute is in recognition of his love of The Spy Who Loved Me, the classic James Bond, with the credits sequence in which James Bond throws himself off the side of a cliff and pops his Union flag parachute. And then finally we've got like a fence thing here with a hole in it. Now this is in recognition of his Saturday job. So at the weekend, Airborne has an outdoor fencing company. Makes a little bit of cash on the side, putting up fences for old ladies, you know, around and about the local estate near the airbase. So there we go. On the other side there, we've got a larger depiction of the artwork, showing a more kind of full stretch of the body, and then a number 115 again. All right, let's get him open, shall we? So I'll pop the tape at the bottom here. Just going to do that. Oh, paperwork. Slide out the blister pack. Looks like the backing card is just the classic blue G.I. Joe symbol, although is that slightly darker? Is the design slightly darker? I'll go and check later. All right, into the blister pack jobby. So we've got the backpack at the top here. Oh, I hate that noise. Got his really bendy wobbly submachine gun, which is... Oh, it strikes again. The handgun, well, that's firmly in there. There it is, little pistol, although I've stressed the barrel out, getting it out of the blister pack there. Oh, and the knife has fallen through. There we go. Got his dagger. There's his helmet. Here's a little night vision goggly attachment. And then we've got 2 sets of goggles here, which appears to be a smaller set there to go around his head. And then we've got a larger set there, which I think is designed to go over the top of his helmet. And I'll investigate that further later. And then, of course, the figure itself. And here we go. Here's Airborne out the packet with all his goodies and everything. So I'm going to go away now, have a bit of man-child playtime, get to grips with the figure, get good and hands-on. And I'll be back in a short while with some review thoughts. So stick around for future Chris. He'll be with you in 3, 2, 1. Let's get moving into the main review section of the video then, folks, and let's talk about the aesthetic. Let me describe the visual experience I've had with Airborne. And just getting started with a full figure view here, it's clearly very apparent that this is hugely inspired by the original version 1 vintage figure look. He's got the light blue bodysuit armor piece in the middle there, the tan jumpsuit, tan, or would we say sand? I don't know. That light browny coloured jumpsuit with the brown trimmings and the brown webbing, the black hair, all in line with the vintage look of the character from back in the day. And while they brought it to life and modernised it in the sense of bringing it real in the 6-inch figure line, they've not really leapt it forward. There's no new contemporary leaps here. It's just more detailed in terms of sculpt, a little bit more kind of realistic in terms of the look and feel of the figure, but everything else is largely vintage inspired. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I'll let you decide, but I'm into it. Bringing Airborne a little bit nearer to the camera then, so we can conduct a closer inspection of the finer details. We can see a lot going on there. Let's start with the head sculpt. Cracking head sculpt, I think up to the usual G.I. Joe Classified series standard. Good sculpted features, very well applied paint applications to the eyebrows, the eyes, the hair, the darker lips, etc., etc. Unique look as well. You know, all the characters in G.I. Joe Classified are distinctive in their own way. They're not just some sort of, vanilla, bland head that you see on everything. Airborne is Navajo, and so we've got that skin tone to be reflective of his indigenous American origin there, which is nice. Although, a random little side tangent, in the UK, Marvel UK Action Force comic books, Airborne was Italian. Just a random little side note there. But yeah, lovely skin tone, everything all smashing it out the park. And then the finer sculpted details you can see there on the hair, for example. And as I turn the head around for a closer look, you can see just a really great piece of head sculpt work. Moving down into the main body, again, we can see some more great sculpt work going on. His body armor here has got all the sculpted details, the straps, the little carabiner there, the buckles, the pop studs, etc., all sculpted in. Also, the paint applications bring it to life a little bit more with all the different colored straps. The hand grenade is painted black. We've got the metallic paint job on the little carabiner pull cord thing there. So that's nice to see. Would I have liked them to go the extra mile and do a little bit more with some of the buckles and clasps in there? Of course I would, but you have to be realistic. And then there's a patch or something obscured by the knife here. Is that maybe the Stars and Stripes? The Stars and Stripes patch on the front? I'm not too sure. Perhaps someone can tell me in the comments down below. The body armor is a separate piece over the top of the figure. You can see that if you look around the neck there. You can see you've got the sculpted detail of the elasticated neckline on the figure, which is pretty standard to get that piece over the top. But one interesting element, both visually and in terms of articulation, I'll swing back around to this later, is that the webbing that continues down onto the leg is attached to the body armor. Can you see it there? So this belt piece and these webbing straps are attached by a couple of little pieces at the top here, which is unusual. And you can see as a result, visually, it causes this like weird misalignment. Sometimes you have to do a bit of fidgeting and fiddling to make sure that all looks neat and straight, if you're taking some photos or whatever. While around the back, you can see more sculpted detail here in his elbow pads, also paint applications, and you can also see things like the texture, folds and creases that have been sculpted into the top half of the body, and also the texture detail as you move down into his trousers. That detail continues down the front of the legs. You can see the knee pads here with the sculpted detail on them, the textured detail in, you know, the seams and the creases and the folds, especially when you can see how it's bunching up at the bottom here. Is this, actually, now that I look at it, is that tunnel wrap reuse? I've got tunnel wrap boxed away right now, but it might well be. And then, as you can see, we've got that different boot cut line, so the boot is underneath the ankle here, and you can see the dark black boots, not so leathery in nature, but that's fine. Different colour scheme once again. One of the features outlined on the back of the box is this insignia on the top left shoulder of the figure. I mentioned when I unboxed it that I think this is probably some sort of airborne, infantry, airborne, cavalry rank insignia piece there, but not a military guy, so would appreciate anyone out there who does know the ins and outs, whys and wherefores of that patch. If you drop into the comments down below and educate me, please, that would be great. So I mentioned the colour scheme at the top of this review section with regards to it being vintage inspired and reflective of the vintage figure, but I didn't talk about it in its own right. And I have to say that I find him an interesting character in display with regards to the colour scheme. The light blue body armour, for example, is just a little splash of something that's not usual, not normal in the G.I. Joe classified colour palette on the good guys side of the shelf. And the lighter tan bodysuit, jumpsuit, whatever you want to call it, overalls, uniform, is a nice little touch too. Now, they have started to expand and get a little bit more variety on that side of the shelf. It is just a little bit less of the kind of military greens, the browns and the blacks. But yeah, he's another nice little splash of colour, and it does draw the eye in display in amongst some of the other figures that I've had him out with. So I like it, but I think possibly because I just kind of like that blue. It's just a nice blue. I've got a shirt like that. It's lovely. So I'm going to give it a thumbs up on the aesthetic qualities of the figure. I think the visual experience is fine. It's positive. He's another soldier boy for sure, but I like it. He's ticking all the boxes for me. So yeah, nothing more to say on that front. Good looking figure, up to the usual G.I. Joe Classified Series standard. Right then, let's move into my second review area, which is Articulation, and have a bit of a chat about that. If you've had a G.I. Joe Classified Series figure in hand before, there will be no surprises here. So for those of you who are familiar with the line already, I'll just let you know that it's exactly the same as we've seen many times over, and the quirks are minimal, but there are a couple that you should keep an eye out for. If you've never seen a G.I. Joe Classified Series figure before, then I'll give you a quick rundown. Let's start with the head. We've got a ball at the top of the head and a ball at the bottom of the neck, giving you some decent down, some all right up, although it's a little bit restricted by this collar line on his bodysuit there. You got full 360 exorcist swivel, some tilt as well, so lots of range of motion available to you there. That does change a little bit when you introduce the helmet to the story in a bit, which we'll take a look at when I do the accessories section. Moving down into the shoulders, we've got a hinge at the top here and a swivel and the butterfly joint, so you've got a bit of shuffly back and forward. You can hinge out to the T-shape there, although a word of caution, get some heat on these. Mine was very stiff, the hinges on the shoulders. And you can rotate all the way around, comme ça. Got a swivel here at the top of the bicep and tricep. Nice pinless elbow that'll get you up to there. And then it's the pegged in hands, so you can swivel all the way around in the wrist socket on both hands. And then this one on the right has got an up and down hinge, and this one on the left has got an in and out hinge. I found the up and down hinge on this side a little bit tricky because of the way that this cuff sits over the top of the wrist, and where the hinge is on the sort of base of the hand here, you don't get a great deal of range of motion unless you sort of pull it out a little bit, and then it looks a bit peggy. So just something to be mindful of. Moving on to the torso, there's an ab crunch in there. You can get a bit of crunch forward like so. It's obviously a little bit restricted by the body armour, and if I just turn into the side here, you can see it sort of lifts up a bit, creating this gap at the back and side there. Then we've got a ball in the waist there, giving us some swivel. However, I said I'd circle back round to this webbing. The way the body armour and this webbing is attached, it can be a little bit restricting and springy and make him look a bit funny when you're using that range of motion in there. Standard drop-down joint in the groin for G.I. Joe characters there. Again, just keep an eye on what's going on with your webbing and how it's connected at the top there, but that gives you a decent range of motion forward. Get the legs out for a nice big Russian ballet splits. Whew. Not so great going backwards. The sculpt of the arse there gets in the way. There is a thigh cut at the top of the thigh here, which you can disguise by these straps across. But as you can see, it's a bit tricky to make good use of with the way that this strap line comes down here. It's a bit, creates these funny shapes and weird silhouettes. Pinless double knee, which will get you all the way up to there. Again, very stiff out the box. Had to get the hairdryer on these bad boys. And then we've got boot cut. In there, you can see it's underneath the trouser leg line there, and then you've got the hinge and rocker giving you forward and back and side to side. So thumbs up on Articulation, standard G.I. Joe Classified Series scheme. We know that it offers a good range of motion for posing if you're taking photos, popping them in display, etc., etc. The ab crunch and the stuff down here where the body arm and the straps get in the way is not too egregious, but it's something to be mindful of if you're trying to do particularly ambitious poses and you don't want weird shapes forming in the straps, or you don't mind spending a bit of time doing some fine detail fidgeting and fiddling to get this belt straight. Look, it's crept up again at the back there, for example. But overall, the range of motion offers a wide range of possibilities, and there's a lot of fun. So what more could you want? Thumbs up. Let's have a little walkthrough now then, folks, of the accessories. I'm going to start with the helmet here, which I'm holding on my little pinky finger. Well sculpted piece of kit there. You can see lots of little sculpted details in with his headphones on that he can use to hear what's going on while he's on his choppers. Got different paint application, brown on the straps. I'll explain that on the front in a second, but yeah, it's all right. It's lovely. Nice sort of firm, but slightly rubbery to help you with the placement of it on his head. You pop it on like this. I found it to have a bit of a funny fit on his head. See how I've tucked the dangling straps on the inside of this collar here? If you kind of have the straps on the outside, it sort of, see how it sort of sits it up, bounces it up a bit funny. So you have to sort of then make sure you've got your sort of straps tucked in to make it sit nice and flush and neat and tidy. Even then it's raising up a little bit. What that also means then is that you then start to restrict your articulation in the head area a lot more as well. But once you've found your position with it, you know, that's not too bad a problem to have. Then we've got these like night vision goggle pieces here, which fit on the helmet. So that little section in the top there that I mentioned before, we've got a peg on the back of the goggles, and you pop the peg in like so. I've got my hand in front of the lamp, so it's all a bit shadowy there, folks, sorry. And there you go. He's got his little night vision goggles in front of his face. Now, I'm not into these at all. I don't think they line up well. They're a bit wibbly wobbly, and I'm not a fan of the implementation. This little peg on the front is not a firm fit, or at least it's not in mine. Others may have had different experiences. And I find when I was taking some pictures yesterday, it just looks a bit silly the way it's, like, see how it's misaligned there like that. Not into it at all. But what I have seen some folks doing, I noticed some pictures knocking around on Instagram the other day, is they've been pegging it in up top there as if he's folded it up. And while we're on the helmet, we've got this larger ringed strapped goggle thing with a little protective case for the goggles that you can also put across the top there like so. Which is fine. Again, another kind of visual element to add to your storytelling piece with the character there. It's all right. It's fine. It certainly fits. But what I'd probably say is the fact that they've sculpted that in the same colour as the helmet and the way it blends is a bit of a shame. It might have been nicer if this was a bit of a different colour, or at least the strap was a different colour, just to give it a little bit of contrast on there. But they haven't, so that's what we got, and it's fine. And while we're on the subject of goggles, you can see there's a set there with a strap big enough to fit around his head. Nice metallic blue paint application across the lenses there. And you just slide it over the top as I've done here to get the best out of them. They're pretty decent. They're quite a tight fit, so you sort of have to get your shot right over the bridge of his nose. Once you put them on, there's not a lot of flexibility for fine detail fidgeting. You have to sort of, well, at least I found that I have to zip it off and put it back on again just to get the line up right. And the helmet still fits over the top of his head while he's wearing these goggles too, so you can do a little combo piece like that as well. That's quite a nice little look, I think, actually. Yeah, you got a bit of drip going on there, Airborne, in your fancy Oakleys. Then into the weapon selection, Airborne's got a little dagger. We've seen this one before. Single piece of sculpted plastic with a handle on it and a blade on it. I've mentioned this before. I'll mention it again. Always a bit disappointed when blades aren't painted up in a metallic paint application. I always find that a little bit of a disappointment. Also, you can see very rubbery in construction. And you just slide it in like that. Ta-da! Then Airborne's got this little pistol here. Again, this is reused. We've seen this before, although you'll have to forgive me for forgetting in the moment who it was we've seen this with, but it's fine. It's a little pistol, little kind of snub pistol piece. Got a little sticky outy barrel there. I mentioned in the unboxing, be cautious when you're taking it out because the way that that barrel has a piece of plastic over the top of it, if you pull it out too hard, you end up stressing it, but it's kind of gone back to normal for me now since I unboxed it a couple of days ago. So yeah, fine, no complaints. Nice sculpted piece of single plastic, and he's got a holster on his right leg there that you can slide that into. Comsa. There we have his little submachine gun, which I'm not a big fan of this weapon. I definitely remember who had this, or who I've seen it with previously, which was the version 2 Firefly. It's just really rubbery and bendy, and it looks a bit crap. And because of the short length of it, it's very difficult, especially with the way the butterfly joint interacts with the body armor there, to get it into a nice, holding pose with him shooting his gun off. This thing, when you put the butt into his shoulder, I find it's bending all the time and making weird shapes like that, which I'm not a big fan of. It's really not a great piece of kit, and I would probably recommend digging something out of the bits box. I know that a lot of folks out there, I saw some comments on, I think it was Reddit, saying give him a Crimson Guard rifle and then he'd be more in line with his original vintage figure, and I think that's a solid idea. But yeah, it's sculpted and what have you. The magazine comes in and out, it's fine. But yeah, I was unimpressed with this with Firefly, and I remain unimpressed with it with Airborne. We've then got this little suppressor piece here. Not much to say there. Not much to say. It's a little plastic tube with a bit of sculpted detail on it, like a suppressor. It does fit both the submachine gun and the pistol, so you can just sort of, bit droopy, got a bit of droop going on there, but yeah, and the pistol as well, which is fun. And there's some on-figure storage for the suppressor in this little slot here, this little loop on the front of his holster. Finally, we've got the backpack here in this dark brown colour with the paint application applied to the shovel strapped on the front. As usual with the backpacks, we've got some nice sculpted detail in there. He's got his little drinks, bottles and what have you, got plenty of water to keep himself hydrated and all that. Once again, would I like more paint applications and more done to bring that detail to life? Of course I would, but overall it's a decent piece of kit. Is that Dukes? Is that reuse of Dukes? Again, someone let ignorant Chris know in the comments down below. But that fits in the usual way. You got the peg on the back and, just pops into the peg hole there, like so. Lovely jubbly. So I'd say it's a decent accessory selection. I'd probably describe it as routine now, a bit pedestrian, in fact, for G.I. Joe Classified Series. He's got a backpack, got a helmet, got an armament selection, small arms, mid arms, done. Bish, bash, bosh. There's certainly nothing unique or particularly exciting or eye-catching in the accessory selection. And then it's dragged down by the standard of this stupid submachine gun. And I think this the set of goggles, the implementation wasn't quite right. So I'm going to give it a middle thumb on accessories. I think the value is added, certainly, and some thought has gone into it, but it's just fallen short. Here we go then, folks. Here is Airborne making his way around on the turntable. Apologies for the belt lift there. I got impatient and frustrated with the fidgeting and fiddling. You'll also notice that I have taken that Reddit suggestion that I mentioned before and armed him up with the Crimson Guard rifle, which I think is a lovely look. Tooled up with one of them. He is a force to be reckoned with. And my final thought comment would be that Airborne is a solid addition to the line. Brings a lot to the shelf display with regards to shelf presence, colour palette, sculpt detail, etc., etc. But if you're like me and you find yourself a bit more enamored with the more idiosyncratic and wackier G.I. Joes of late, you know, in your older age, if you're letting go of the conventional and moving more towards the unconventional, then you might find him a little bit bland. I think that's unfair. I don't think he is all that bland, but he's decent. He's solid. You know what I mean? He's just a rock solid soldier boy. He's a guy who flies helicopters, jumps out of helicopters, goes behind enemy lines and does the business. And that's exactly what his sculpt, design, look, feel, accessory selection is communicating, and that is fine, perfect, and dandy for the storytelling you might want to do with this figure. And he's decked out in that lovely blue. It's a very nice blue. So there we go. But of course, as always, I'd invite you down to the comments below to share your thoughts and reflections on the figure. Let me know if you picked one up already or if yours is coming imminently. I think there's a few about to ship in North America right now. And of course, if you do me the honor of making sure that you're subscribed and you've hit a like on the review and all that good YouTube-y stuff, that would be wonderful. Okay, folks, well, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here with me once again on MoDXtra Games and Collectibles. I hope you have a wonderful day. And please do swing back around sometime soon for another video. And look at that, I managed to finish it with him looking forward. I'm amazing. Yay!